Hey guys, how you doing?
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Well, hello Conyers Bowl. Hello Jessica. Hello Frank. We've got the usual suspects in the audience tonight.
We've got the usual suspects, and I still am just so grateful to. I'm grateful for everybody who shows up and supports us, but particularly grateful with, with Frank Costa and Jessica because they're really helping us grow our YouTube channel. And right before we came on live, I looked and we were at 995 subscribers. Woohoo! Yay! So, how is everyone tonight? I hope you're all doing good. So, I have been seeing these geometric earrings everywhere, like just really simple shapes, lots of arches, lots of ovals, and things like that. Um, just put together simply with jump rings. And so I said, well, I want to try some of those. I want to try some of those. And last week, I we demonstrated how to make blends with Jan Edward Montarsi's blend angle set. But Teresa Salgado sells. It used to be called the Beads and Blends kit, and now it's called the Triangle Template kit for perfect rolled beads. And I also use that a lot to make blends. Um, when I want to get blends that are the right scale for a piece of jewelry. Um, I use either Jan's kit or Teresa's kit. So I'm going to show you how I do that tonight.
So Joanne Bright says hi, and
Hi,
Patricia
Joanne.
Birdman says hello.
Hello. Hello, everybody. Hello. So the Triangle Template Kit comes with three different, it's probably hard to see these, but it's three different size long triangle. I think they're about 8 inches long triangle templates, and we're going to use the smallest one tonight. And you can make these rolled beads with them, and so it comes with two. Um, I guess they're steel rods. They're empty.
So if they're
To
hollow, those are pipes.
pipes. They're pipes. I think they're metal drinking straws. And she's, gives you a little brush. So if you get some clay inside there, you can clean them out. And then she gives you this, she calls it the super blade. It's a great big long blade that's almost the length of the templates.
So
And
Conyers
it
Bowl
just,
says that Jan's kit just arrived, and she thanks both Jan and us. She's so excited to use it.
uh, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So the way that you use this is really just the same as you do Jan's kit. This clay has been rolled out at the thickest setting. Surprise, surprise. And you just kind of lay your triangle on there. If you want to, you can, if it's really important to you that all your triangles are the exact same length, um, then you can put some tape anywhere along here. And so I guess I'm using about half the template tonight, but I've made blends with the whole length of the template. And what's cool about that is those are really easy to, fold up.
So Jessica Ashman says, yes, I have the kit and she loves it. And Frank has confirmed. I think this is from experience, but yes, they are metal drinking straws.
Okay. And so it's just easy peasy to cut yourself some triangles, any length that you want. And then usually what I would do is flip the template over.
Now, is this
I
for
have
making? I'm sorry, sweetie. Is this for making a blend?
You can use that's what we're gonna do tonight. Is we're
Okay,
gonna make
okay.
we're gonna make a blend. If what some people do is oh, so you could roll a sheet out like this and silk screen on it or put some sort of texture on it or something like that. And then what you can do, I'm doing this the wrong way. And then what you can do is make a rolled bead.
Ah, okay. So it's a repurposing.
Well, no, from the beginning, Teresa did mean for these to be used both for rolled beads and for blends. It used to be called the Beads and Blends Kit, but now it's called the Triangle Template Kit for Perfect Rolled Beads.
Yeah, and
Oh,
Frank's confirmed. We're hanging out with Frank next time at the bar because he's saying that,
yeah,
yes, I have them both from Teresa's kit and from buying drinking straws.
yeah. Oh. There, I think of all the non-disposable drinking straws, I think they're probably the ones that are easiest to keep clean, right? To get, sanitized. So you just keep, cutting triangles like that. And there's lots of different ways that you can, put them together. You can put two skinny triangles together to make a larger triangle, or you can, make triangles of all different colors. On the Tiny Pandora Design Team YouTube channel, there's a video where I use them to make like a rainbow blend, and then I turn that into was it a feather or a leaf? I think it was a feather. Um, so once I have all my triangles laid out, like this, then and this is a little bit shorter than I usually go. It's a tiny bit shorter, but it's okay. It'll work out. What I do is I roll it in all directions, just putting a little bit of pressure on there because I just want the triangles to all stick together.
So it's fun to have sticky triangles.
And don't forget the diagonals. And then that usually gets it so that they'll stick. They won't fall apart as I'm trying to put them into the machine.
Frank saying that last one you did, sweetie, was a mouthful.
And I didn't get them stuck together really well right there. But now, for this project, what I have been doing is combining um, a really sort of muted color with a very bright color. This is let me show you this. So for these guys, I used souffle and bluestone. And then my favorite clay color that I have a crush on, wasabi. So it's wasabi and bluestone. And then when I was all finished making all of these earrings, I blended all of the colors together, and I got this, muted green. And again, I'm mixing that with wasabi. And I just like it. It's a it makes it glowy. That's another
It's another art school word.
it's another
Uh,
art school word. It's glowy. Go ahead.
so Melissa Boone says that's a pretty cool pattern too.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, you can do 3 colors, 4 colors, 5 colors, whatever you'd like. And I wanted to just bring up too, if you want to make your own kind of muted color palette, then what you do is you mix the colors with ecru, or like a beige color. Instead, if you mix them with just white, you'll get a pastel. But if you want sort of that more earthy tone, You want to mix it with ecru. Or you can buy the more earthy colors and muted tones. This is, I think, olive. That's a pretty muted tone. Um, One thing that I'm going to try a little bit later is I'm going to try to make some triangles of orange and triangles of the olive. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put triangles of ecru in between, because you wouldn't want to have orange and green right next to each other. It would just turn into mud. It would just turn into a gray color. But if you put that in between them, I think I might get something cool there. So if I try that, if I have the time to try that, I'll show it to you. What's that?
Sharemed says howdy.
Hi. Hi, everybody. Okay, now, all I'm going to do is fold this in half. Just like that. I'm going to fix my sides up. Fix my sides up a little bit. And I'm so excited because I found my hand crank. So I don't have to deafen everybody. And I'm just going to put it through the machine. These were all at the thickest setting. So I'm going to go ahead and put it through the machine at the thickest setting. Excuse me, my handle fell out. I haven't used a handle since Indie Jam. All right, and now what I'm going to do, I'm not going to continue to fold it at this thickness. I'm going to bring it down to the medium thickness. Surprise, surprise. I have to stabilize this machine more if I'm going to go to the third setting.
I'm always amazed at this process.
The blending,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
it's one of the coolest things you can.
this is, knowing nothing about clay coming in when shit, almost a decade ago now when I met you, it was like the magic part of clay. It's like, how the hell did you figure that out?
Well, I didn't figure it out. A woman named Judith Skinner so now I've got it at the medium setting, and that accomplishes a couple of things. It makes it easier to fold, and it's also going to blend more quickly. So this blending technique, way back, like when I first played with clay in the 90s, what we all did to get a gradient is, we divided packages of clay up so that, if you wanted an orange gradient, you would have like a package of orange and a package of white, and you would say, okay, I'm gonna do half white and half orange, and then I'm gonna do half orange and a quarter of white, eighth, so on, until you got that gradient. And Judith Skinner was a mathematician, and she figured out that you could get the same effect with triangles. And it does seem like it's real magic, but I've seen some really cool blog posts where people showed like a two-color gradient, and then that was done with the Skinner blend, that was done with the two triangles, and then they cut it up, and you could really see that it really was just proportions of clay mixed together. So I don't know if that made sense to anybody.
No,
So
it made a lot
anyways,
of sense. So Deborah Gabriel finally got here. She says hello.
hello,
Nesle
Deborah.
says hello.
Hello. So I rolled it down to the medium setting, and that accomplishes a couple of things. You have more, we're making small blends here, and sometimes when you make a small blend, if you try to keep blending on the thickest setting, you wind up with like only this much to fold over. I bring it down to the medium setting, and one that makes it just about the length of my pasta machine. Two, There's more to fold. It's easier to fold. And 3, it blends more quickly. So I'm just going to do this a few times. I actually have one of these all blended up, but I'll do it a few more times. Now that I don't have that nasty motor, you don't have to listen.
So Nancy H says, this reminds me of a referee's shirt. It does actually. Really bad colors, but yeah, it does.
Well, okay. So I'm going to just keep blending. And oftentimes what I do, if I have a side that's like ugly, put that side inside. That's a trick a lot of clay artists
Is that called
don't
hiding the sin?
yeah. Well, it just makes it easier. And I don't see a lot of people sharing it, but I see a lot of people doing it. It might be one of those things where people just, they don't. So now see, that looks better on both sides.
Well, I think this goes back to Pinterest perfect, right? We never talk about our sins on Pinterest. We just use Photoshop and make them go away.
Well, there's that, and there's sometimes as an OT, I had to take students every year, and sometimes you don't realize what you know until you have a student, and people start asking questions. So there's things that I do that I think everybody knows how to do it, but then you find out that no, not everybody does know how to do it. The other day there was a discussion where for video and for films, and for photographs, most of us will trim a sheet up. We'll trim it nice and pretty, like this. It looks better. It's less distracting. But one thing that I've discovered is that a lot of newbies can't figure out why they can't get a sheet to come out like nice and perfect and straight like this. They don't realize it's been trimmed. And so they're thinking they're doing something wrong when they're not. So you can see it's starting to blend.
So Shermid is telling me to just wait for the magic. And Nancy H just telling us she hides a lot of stuff inside.
Yeah.
And Deborah was all, Deborah Gabriel's all for the Photoshop Pinterest model.
So see, that's just starting to blend, and it's kind of up to you. You could leave it here, and like I said, I very purposely, I was really scared the first time I did this because I really just wanted to see what happens if you have those really muted colors and you mix them with these really bright colors. And I'll show you what happens in a minute.
So both Deborah Gabriel and Connors Bowles is agreeing with you. They were angry for years trying to get those straight corners.
It's not possible. It's not possible with clay. It's not possible with pasta. So I try to bring that. And another thing that I'm going to point out, and I pointed it out last week, but I'll say it again today. When you're putting it through the machine, you want to make sure that this whole edge touches the rollers. All these colors touch the rollers. If you're accidentally sort of like this or like this, it does make it difficult to get an even blend. It's hard to recover from that one. It's hard to recover from that one. My God, I haven't used a hand crank in the longest time. So I'm just going to do.
The Deborah Gabriel saying, no, I thought I was supposed to look that good. Now I know better.
Okay,
and Judy
so.
Two Sierra saying hi from California.
Hi. Hi, Judy.
So, Judy, I'm originally from the Santa Barbara area. You anywhere near there? So Nancy H says, when I got the first choppy edges, I thought, oops, this machine must be messed up.
Isn't it awful that we...
Now, I got to be honest with you guys, because I like to make mud and get colors for Cynthia. And I went through that. I'm like, how come this stuff's just not going square? And I did figure something out. If you put enough clay in the machine, it slides along the edges and makes a nice square piece of clay.
Well, that's why when you blend, it's when you make blends, it's nice sometimes to have enough clay to go all the way through the machine. So this is what I wound up with. So that's not so stark. I blended to just about this level. And, I must have had slightly larger triangles in some places and slightly smaller triangles in some places. So again, this is at the medium setting. On my machine, the medium setting is number 4. And what I want to do is I want to bring this back up to the thickest setting. So I'm going to fold it in half and put it through at number 3. Holy cow. I miss my motor. And then I'm gonna fold it up and see I'm gonna put the ugly side inside. I'm gonna fold it up and go through number 2. And fold it up and go through number 1. I'm gonna stop at number 1.
So Nancy H is in the Florida area. Jessica's in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Well, I don't know if it's the same, but I used to love San Francisco. It's one of the few parts of California that I've been to. So,
Yeah, it's funny. It's been close to 20 years since I've been back to California, and I've been homesick lately for California. I have no family left there, but the place has a draw to me.
so there we are at the thickest setting. And I'm going to go ahead and cut just about 2 inches of this off. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm going to cut just about 2 inches of it off. And I'm going to put that aside. So now I have this whole sheet to play with. I did want to get some cutters out here for a second. Excuse me while I get my Create Along box out.
You wouldn't believe how many secret boxes we have.
Well,
Yeah, Nancy H, the Redwood Forest is awesome. I've been through there several times.
I'm just looking for some cutters here. I am looking for my Shannon Tabor cutters. All right. I've been calling her Shannon Tabor, and I heard somebody today call her Shannon Tabor. So I think I've been saying her name wrong for years. This isn't very organized. This isn't me at my finest here, is it, kids? This is me showing why I call myself complete and utter mess. All right, well, if you have some, that's one of Shannon Tabor's modern shapes, and if you already have some nice, modern looking shapes that have the cutout in the middle, that'd be great to use for this project. I tried to use when I make a tutorial. There's a piece of hair in there. That'll be the back. When I make a tutorial, I try to use things that are
That's the accent.
not very what Tabor versus.
No. The hair. It's the accent in the piece.
Oh yeah. So I try to use things that are relatively inexpensive. That people can get maybe on sale clearance aisle or something like that. So I decided to work with these. These are called ovals, but this is really an oval shape. So I decided to work,
That's
just
that's
with.
kind of like a cylinder shape almost.
yeah, to me it was like a capsule shape.
Yeah.
So I just tried to work with those. I said, hey.
So Deborah Gabriel loves Santa Cruz. Frank says that's how he feels about Rhode Island. Melissa Bourne says the redwoods are on their bucket list. Deborah Gabriel doesn't live in Colorado anymore, but that'll always be home. And
Mm.
and Jessica lives in Oakland, but would love to get to Santa Cruz more if she could. See, I've promised to take Cynthia to Santa Cruz, to Santa Barbara, if we ever get over there.
Well, it'll
It's first,
happen.
it's first getting
I
to know
don't
the boys.
travel. Yeah, I don't travel well. And I freely admit that. Not a good traveler. And so I just cut a bunch of shapes out. Just as many as I could get.
I think the best trip we had was the car trip last year. And we figured
Yeah.
something out. If you let Cynthia do her knitting while I'm driving, she has a blast of a time on the trip.
Oh gosh. All right, so I just cut a bunch of pieces out. And now these are these are nice and thick, right? They're at the thickest setting. And that's kind of cool because, they have a tendency to not deform as you move them, which is, it's very frustrating. It took me a long time to figure out that if I was doing thinner, small pieces like this and I didn't want them to deform, that I would cut them right on the tile that I was going to bake them on. So this is something you should all know about. This is some scrap that I made, I took the time to make the blend, and I'm just going to roll it up just the same way that the blend was. And then I can flatten it.
Connie Bowles loves those capsule shaped cutters. Yeah, it's a cool shape.
Yeah, it is. And I'm going to put it through the machine.
This is see, you're giving me your lisp, Cynthia.
And,
Yes.
I have another blend again. I might have to cut that off. But, that way you don't have to keep making blends, making blends, making blends. Oh, I meant to. We all were talking last week about tools that you can use to, cut around a template. I don't think they make this one anymore. I couldn't find, it's actually broken too, but this was a tool from Quick Art. And Quick Art is spelled, let me see if I can see it here. Quick Art is spelled Quik and then capital ART. And it was I think it still is a company that makes a lot of tools for metal clay, because I was playing a lot with metal clay at one point. And it was made for people to put a template on metal clay and then cut. That's a very, very thin needle. It doesn't work well on thick clay. You really have
So
to,
so Connie
use it on
Bowl is
thin.
asking, where did you get the capsule shaped cutters, if you remember?
Um, you know, I am actually, I've actually made an edited version of this video, and it's going to Teresa Salgado as part of my work on her design team. And
Is it in the
that will
materials
have,
list?
I don't know if I linked it yet. I think that they are. Could somebody take a quick look on Sculpey? But anyways, so that would be a way for you to Sculpey or Makin's, I got them from.
Excuse
So
me.
that's a tool that, you know, you can use your finger to keep it stable and you can cut. That's clay at the thin medium setting. But I don't think it works that well, at least at the thickest setting. I think you get a lot of drag.
Excuse me.
No, or I could be completely wrong. But if you can find this quick art tool, it can be really helpful, especially when you put a template down over them. There you go. So then what I did with some of them,
Can you put the link in, Nancy H? I think she found them.
oh good. So then what I did with some of them is I centered, this is the largest capsule. It's the largest capsule that we have. Now, I'm going to have a hard time doing this because I'm going to move it back here for a second.
So, Jessica, you have a cutter's problem, we know. It's okay. One was not going to kill you.
So I'm going to try, if you want to center things, the best thing to do is stand up and look over them. And I can't really do that here today. So let me look on camera. Can I see if that's centered?
Do you need a close-up of that?
That might help. If we did a close-up, then I could see if
There
I'm
you
centered.
go.
Let me get out of my own way. Ooh, that's
That,
stretched. Yeah. And I just cut it out.
it's not really that bad of an aspect, sweetie.
Hmm?
It's not, that zoom wasn't that stretched out.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be insulting.
You weren't insulting. I was just letting you know. Because I checked all of the zooms earlier today.
So, you know, I made some of them into capsule-shaped rings. And, you know, I'll give you a hint. Sometimes what you can do is very purposely be off center. You know, that's like way less aggravating than trying to get them all. You know, these ones will purposely make them off center. Right? That's another thing that you can do with them.
Ganya Pools is saying Jessica just added to her life goals. I think we have a cutters competition coming up.
All right, that's one way, you know, they can just kind of play. I'll show you another little trick that you can do. If you have a hard time cutting things in half, you know, little components like this, if you have a hard time getting them in you know, exactly in half, and then you have to do a whole lot of trimming, if you put two right next to each other and cut like that, well, see, I purposely didn't do that exactly in half, but I still have matching ones because these ones are the same size as this one. All right. So I did that with all of, you know, all of my stripey blend. And then, of course, what you do is you get them in the oven and cure them. And I did, you know, I cured them for I cured things for a very long time. I think in the video that I made for Teresa, I say to cure them for 45 minutes, but chances are I cured them for an hour. You know, if it's at the right temperature, it won't hurt them. That's the trick, really. And I do preheat the oven. I don't do any trickstery things with, you know, a cold oven or anything like that. As I understand it, you know, especially if you're curing things a number of times, that first cure has to be enough time to allow all the molecules. You need to let all the molecules come together. Okay, so we're going to put that aside. That aside right there. Now,
So Jessica, you need to balance texture sheets and cutters now. You know,
now remember, I cut off some of the stripy blend, and I'm going to go ahead and put that through the pasta machine, and I'm going to put it through with the stripes vertical. And I know that I usually do either thinnest setting, thickest setting, or medium setting. But for this one, I did it on setting 7. So again, my machine, I start at level 1. That's the thickest. Level 9 is the thinnest. And I'm going to do this to 7. I'm going to get it pretty thin. And I'm going to use a technique that I've been learning about in Ginger Davis Allman's new group, Polymer Clay, Slab, and Veneer.
how do you
Lovers,
guys
I
keep
think.
up with all these groups?
You know. Okay. So forgive me, it's a little bit wrinkly. So I have a nice long piece. Get some of this stuff out of the get some of it out of the way. So see, these are, they're pretty simple to make. There's no super secret technique or anything like that. Now, I have always called these wire ferrules, but I think more people refer to them as bootlace ferrules. And so that's what I called them in the video and in the PDF, is bootlace ferrules. All right. And I'm just going to cut some circles, random size, randomly along here. I guess I'm kind of trying to stay where it's a little bit lighter. Just somewhere where it's dark. Oops. We don't need this many. I know we don't need this many, but
So Nancy H is asking, do you double layer them to put the findings in between?
no, I'll show you what I did. So this particular style, this is a really trendy style right now. And, some family members and friends asked if I could, make this kind of style. And with this style, they don't. I'll show you how I did this. But I drilled holes. Now, if you know how you want to put your pieces together, then you can use one of these bootlace ferrules to put your holes in before you cure them. But I like to wait because I like to be able to play around with them and see how I want to put them together. So I will show what time we got there. So I make sure I leave time to show
We're
all
sitting
that
at
stuff.
48 minutes, sweetie.
Okay.
You're in that part of the show where you think you have forever.
So I'm just, making you can make two or three different size circles. And again, this is pretty thin. It's a pretty, pretty, pretty thin sheet. And then hopefully, yeah, good.
Boy, the spilled milk if it had all come up in one piece, huh?
So if you
Uh,
notice when I cut these, I kind of patted it down onto the tile. And that's how I got the circles to come out pretty cleanly. Except for this little guy. Except for this guy who's now run away. I don't know where he is. Okay. We'll put him back over there.
so Shell Med said, loved that, and I think it was the piece of jewelry.
Well, thank you.
Nancy H says you could be making a music sheet there. Very true.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder, sometimes I will say to myself, boy, that was a good idea. So I'm just rolling this up so that I can put it through the machine and have another blend and have another little piece of blend.
Now, do you roll that skinny end down or wide?
This,
Yeah.
most people call it making a plug. Actually, you can actually keep manipulating it until it's a plug. And then this is how a lot of people store their Skinner blends. They
Ah.
I didn't do a very good job of that, but you make it into a plug and then you roll the plug to the point where you can get it through the thickest setting on your machine. Okay, so now I have all these little dotty dots. And what I'm going to do is make a slab out of them. So now this is that blend that I told you about at the beginning. I might have to put some eyeglasses on here for this. We'll see. Um,
You're all
and
set.
it's at the thick. I did have some here. I did
I
have
have
some
mine
here.
if
I
I don't know
well,
if you need it.
I moved them when we were having trouble at the start of the stream. It's okay. It's okay. I'll be okay. So this is at the thickest setting, and these little guys are, pretty much at the seventh setting, and I'm just gonna randomly place them any way that you can
So
on this
Melissa
sheet.
Boone is asking where you got the flannel buffing wheels you showed her in the last video.
Uh, I got them on Amazon, and I'll try to get a link up on Complete Not a Mess. I'll look, in my orders on Amazon, and I'll try to remember to put a link. Can you write her name down so I can? Are you on Facebook? Or you might make friends with me on Facebook so I can tag you. And I don't mind if I leave a little mark in these circles because I'm going to roll over them.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm looking at with buffing wheels, so yeah, I'll wait for you to get back to her, sweetie.
Because somebody else told me that they couldn't find them on Amazon, so I'll go and look at my link and see if hopefully they're still there, right? I think that we're all still experiencing problems getting things from China.
So now you guys are going to make me have a little man run behind the plane now so you can really do the plane to plane. I had a lot of fun making that one. Though I actually today I made my coffee one, which I
And so this is one of the slab techniques that I learned in that new group um, that I told you guys about, Ginger's new group. And as I understand it, it's really popular in Australia and New Zealand. but I've been having a lot of fun with it. You know, caning is beautiful and it's wonderful, but um, you know, making veneers with other techniques can be just as beautiful, and it's quicker. And it very often will use less clay.
Yeah, but you know, it's funny when you first showed me how to make canes and how you were doing it. You had these ginormous blocks of clay that you were using. And with some of the new techniques that I've been watching you do over the last month or so, it seems like it's getting a little bit more clay economical. I think that's probably the best way to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we Harbor Freight is one of our more favorite stores.
Oh, does Harbor Freight have flannel?
No, but a lot of people we're just it's just a side thread on places to get tools.
So we forgot to make a little advertisement for it, but right now on Polymer Clay Adventure 2020, they just released my class. I was one of the teachers for that, and it is called Boho Heart Pendant and Hardware Store Bail, because I showed people how to make a bail out of copper tubing with just tools from the hardware store. I very purposely didn't say, oh, hey, everybody go out and buy, you know, all I have, you know, jeweler's hammers and jeweler's saws and stuff like that. But I wanted to make it less expensive for people. You know, I also wanted to make it a non-intimidating way to start working with metal. And, you know, uh, I wish I had the link to share with you right now. I don't know, Misha, if you can manage to get to the Complete and Utter Mess Facebook page and find the post I made and share it. But right now, it's $37 for that class. It will go up to $50. And you can actually get the entire Polymer Clay Adventure for $99 right now. Okay. And people ask me how I decide where to put the dots, and it's really just where I think they look good. You know, I guess you're looking a lot. And I was calling these I was calling this veneer ghost circles because some of them kind of disappear, vanishing circles, I guess. I'm sorry, were you gonna say something, Mish?
There we go. Oh no, I don't want to do an ivory. How do I copy a post? Remember, I'm the Facebook idiot here.
Well, I thought you could. No, I guess you can't copy the link unless
Well,
you have edited.
maybe I
Do you have
can. Let
edit?
me.
Will it let you edit it? If it, you know, if you edit it, you'll be able to copy the link. So
Oh,
there
okay.
we go.
Give me a second. Let me do that. I can edit it. Okay.
Now, you know, if you wanted to leave these dimensional, you could. But like I said, I've been learning, you know, different ways to make a slab, and that is one way. You could leave these dimensional, put some texture in there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to embed the circles into the slab, and I'm going to use a technique. Um, this is how I was taught to embed cane slices. I don't see people do this much anymore. But, you know, way back in the day, Donna Cato wrote this book. Oh, it was life changing about, you know, Millie Fiore. And this is how she suggested that you embed. So I'm like right in the middle, and I'm going to roll away from me. I'm going to come back to the middle and roll toward myself. And then now what a lot of slab makers do is they keep picking the slab up and turning it, but I like doing it this way. In the middle, I'm going to go toward the right. In the middle, I'm going to go to the left. And then from the middle, the upper left corner. From the middle, the lower right corner. and then vice versa. And I'm just going to keep doing that. Now, like I said, I had rolled all these circles out at number 7. If I had done them on number 9, this would be even quicker. And then that way you can embed them with, just the least amount of distortion. So I'm just feeling to see. And you don't have to get them perfectly embedded because we are going to do you do some sanding with this technique. So that's thinned it out a little bit.
This is a big post.
All right, never mind.
Well, when you edit it, it doesn't let me get a link to it. So hold on, let me just kind of open it up. There, I think I got a link. Let's see if this one works. You can't say I don't try.
You do try so hard. So now I'm going to do the exact same thing I did with the stripe sheet. Is I'm just going to cut some nice little shapy shapes out.
So Beth Sullivan says hi.
Hi. Just go to town.
And Jessica's saying she could go for years without buying any more supplies except for clay. And that's the one that's being hard to find.
Yeah, it might be a little bit better now. So we've got striped components. And now,
polka dots.
Yeah, some disappearing circles. And I think I'm going to make life easier on myself and purposely make these ones.
Yes. I think that link works, guys. Unless you have to be me. See, it's funny. You would never know we actually have a pre-stream meeting a couple hours before, so that I have all the links I have, and then we always get in the middle of the stream, and it's like, oh, we forgot about that link. That one too.
So I'm just gonna, and then of course, same thing. You mess around, cut some of them in half. Just whatever you'd like to do. You can always use other shapes.
So is there a problem with the audio? It looks good for me. Yeah, do you need it more louder? Is it choppy? Sound of machine humming. I do not. Here, let me drop you down a little bit.
All right. Is everybody hearing it or just one person?
My audio should be, well, let me make sure I didn't mute myself. I know I should be going out.
This one's on here.
Cynthia is messed up. Well, that's a different issue. Uh, Very loud squealing. We don't have any squealing here. A high
Uh-oh.
pitched squeal. That's not good. I'm going to bounce your mic, sweetie. Okay?
Okay. All right, so I'm totally muted right now, or
You're muted now. Did that make the mic any better? Can you talk, sweetie?
hello, hello.
It's okay now. Okay.
Oh, thank goodness.
Thank you for letting
Thank you,
us know,
sound.
guys.
Thank you, sound engineer Mish.
You know, I was noticing it was bouncing, but I wasn't saying. I just figured you talk so fast that the poor little dial never settles down.
Do I talk too fast? Can we have a show of hands? Do I talk too fast?
Hello, Janet Smith. How you doing? It's good. She's saying it's good now.
Okay, thank
Patricia's
you.
saying we're good.
All right, so again, I just textured that earthy green color, um, and cut the very same shapes out of it. And like I said, if you know for sure how you're going to put your components together, then you can use a cocktail straw or one of these bootlace ferrules to, cut holes for your jump rings in here. You have to cut the holes pretty big, and they have to be near the edge because, most of the time when we use jump rings to put earring components together, we would use two jump rings. We'd put a jump ring through the bottom, and then put another jump ring, and then put a jump ring here, maybe larger and smaller jump rings. But that's how we'd do it. But this particular style, this really contemporary, trendy style, they're all using just the one jump ring. So, if you look, I do have them fairly close to the edge, and I did put fairly large holes in there, and I think I used 9 millimeter jump rings. But if you want to, you can say, well, you know, I know for sure, I know for sure that I'm going to use this composition. I'd probably put it the other way. Then then you can go ahead and cut your holes, right? But use something like a cocktail straw or one of these ferrules. Don't don't use like just a needle tool or something like that, because that distorts the clay. Because this is actually going to cut a piece of clay out. It doesn't cause distortion, But if you push a solid skewer or something like that into the clay, it will cause some distortion because it displaces some of the clay. So, where are we? So then once everything is all baked up, I do recommend that you sand these. I know that they have a lot of souffle in them, but they do look better, because they're such simple shapes. Any little defect will really, really show on these. Any little tiny defect shows up. If anything along the edge isn't, nice and straight, that shows. Any little dip or pit or anything like that. Now, I didn't buff these. The reason why I didn't buff them was because there's primo and souffle together. So if you have primo and souffle together, and you sand them and then you buff them, the primo gets shiny and the souffle stays not shiny. So that's my suggestion, is that you get them sanded up. I went from 400 grit wet dry sandpaper up to 1,000, and I didn't do anything beyond that. And it just makes them, um, even when you handle them, if you've sanded off all the rough edges, they feel nicer. Most of these that I saw on Etsy and different places, they don't have any backing put on them. Um, so you can just you could put a backing on them if you wanted to, but this is just what's trendy right now. All right. So once you've got everything kind of all sanded up, cured, sanded up, ready to go. Oh, and of course, these textured pieces, you would only sand the sides and the back. You wouldn't sand, you don't want to sand that texture off. You took the time to put it in there. And I did just want to show you something. Um, this is how I used to sand. Get some soapy water here. This is how I used to sand things without sanding my fingertips off. We tried doing stuff with pieces of tape, stuff like that last week, and it didn't work out that great. So the sandpaper's wet. The sound is still okay, guys?
Nobody's complaining, which is good. Of course, this crowd never complains, so they got to tell me more often that you're sounding like a squeaky mouse.
um, this is a glove I got it at Harbor Freight. Speaking of Harbor Freight, I guess it's made for garden. I don't know exactly what it's made for, but the tips are rubber, and this part is like an elastic. And so I was able to sand, without sanding my fingertips off or my fingernails off. There we go. All right. How are we for time?
You're sitting at 1 hour, 11, 12 minutes.
Okay. So now we're going to talk about drilling. And, again, you can cut the holes beforehand, but, I really just like I mean, you wind up with just tons and tons of pieces, right? And so I like to sit and play around and get different configurations. This is just a few of them, right? I mean, and then I drill them afterwards. You can make them big, you can make them small, you can make them in between. Here's some baby ones, little baby earrings. So I had a lot of fun with
Frank's
that.
saying the sound is great. He thinks I fell asleep at the wheel earlier. I was looking up links for you guys.
So, the trick with drilling is you start very, very small, very thin. This is a pin vise set. And I don't know exactly what these numbers mean, but it starts at a drill bit that's 0.08, and it goes up to a drill bit that's 3.0.
Those are
And
millimeters. Oh man, I'm just trying to be helpful.
And so you're just going to start This one you're supposed to, so this one this top spins. Let's see if they can actually see this.
Yeah,
And so I can hold it kind of steady. And that goes all the way through, hopefully. All right, so again, we're kind of close to the edge. And the
Janice has
trick,
said, I like Janet. She says, you're just making sure we're listening.
right? So the trick is to start thin and move up slowly. So that's one type of drill that I often use. And then I have this one. This is from a company called Cobalt, and I got these at
Those are
either
Lowe's.
home, yeah, either Home Depot or Lowe's, and it has a little handle here, and you pull back on that, and you put your drill bit in, and so they're quick change, and so it makes this process kind of quicker. I'll pull that off. And we can go to the next size pretty quickly.
Connor's Bull is asking where you got that drill set. I think the pin vise one.
The pin vise one, again, I got that on Amazon, and there's actually cooler ones than that one that I have. There's ones that have like a nice vise, to hold your bead pretty steady. And so I'm just going up in size, slowly but surely. And actually, it's easiest if you do this like over a piece of paper or something. You can get rid of all that, all that stuff that's on there.
All the schmaltz.
Why won't this one? Is this one from a different set or something? There we go.
There you go.
There we go.
I would say that it just didn't go in deep enough, but
It was refusing to cooperate. See?
That must have been the one I borrowed, so I probably broke it for you.
Right.
Deborah likes that set better too, by the way.
Yeah, it starts it starts small enough, right? I mean, I don't think you need to necessarily start with a 0.08. So
that's for really tiny ears.
So that's how, that's very close to the edge. It's very, very close to the edge. But if you just take your time, then you're able to do it without breaking the clay. And of course, that's one of the reasons why you want to have well cured clay. So I should show these containers. Everybody probably knows about them, but I'll show them. These are containers to hold findings, and you can't open these. They won't open unless you push this button on the end. You have to push the button in, and then that allows you, and then you close it again, and it won't go all over the place on you. It won't go all over the place on you. So these are 9mm jump rings. I would get 9 or 10 millimeters. I would get big jump rings for this. Let me see. I really should get my glasses. And so you open the jump ring. You might want to come in. Yeah.
Okay, I'll be right back.
No. I want you to zoom in. That's all. I just need you to zoom in. He's gone. He's bringing me some glasses. I just wanted you to zoom in, but thank you. Let me see. So that's all right. Gives me the opportunity to open the jump ring. So these are larger jump rings than I usually use, and I made sure that these were made from half hard metal. And the way that you open it is uh, I'm bringing one plier toward myself and the other plier away from myself. That's how you open a jump ring. And you just put it through there, and then you want to, yeah, there you go. Right now, because these are half hard, and I want it half hard because they're strong, because that's all that's holding this together. I'm going to make it a little bit easier on myself, and I'm just going to close them as much as I can, just with that pinching motion. And then what you do is you just kind of rock back and forth while pushing the ends toward each other until they, close. But I'm going to take this apart for just a minute because I'm going to show you just a little trick. Now, usually I put backs on everything, and that's how I would attach a post, a stud post. Let me get one out here.
Thank you, Deborah. I try. Now I'm going to have to get my glasses back because I'm blind as a bat for reading without them.
Mine are here someplace.
Deborah Gabriel saying I'm a good man.
You are a good man. What a man, what a man. Oh, hopefully I have some of this. I'll use some of this. So, for some of these, I didn't use an ear wire. This one's all put together, and it's just topped off with an ear wire. But I thought some of these would be better with um, a stud post back. And so here's what I found I had to do. Um, I'm gonna drill a pretty thin hole. Let me just get some stuff ready. Let me just get some stuff ready. It's pretty. Okay. I'm going to drill a pretty thin hole here. That
I
goes
think one of these
all the
shows
way
I'll
through.
make the whir noise for you for the drill. How's
We can pretend. And now, don't freak out because I'm going to use glue here. And I know everybody's going to say, oh, no, no, you can't do that because, you can't use glue to hold metal and polymer clay together. And that's true. If I use just glue here, it would eventually fail. But I really just want to hold this together until I get some clay on it. And I hope I didn't drill that in the wrong place. I may have. I'm putting just a tiny bit of glue around the post back or the stud back, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to put it through that hole I drilled. And there. Because I just want to hold this in place and glue my finger to it. That's something I do for fun, is I glue my fingers.
It's one of the depraved habits we have.
Yeah, I just like to glue my glue my fingers to the
It's
jewelry I'm
it's your it's
making.
it, it's your love of clay. You like to glue body parts to clay.
And now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut, just cut some circles from scrap, the different patterns you made or something like that. Um, I don't wanna
You want to use
mess
that
up any
piece.
of my dot. Yeah, so I'm just gonna use this textured one, and so I have some liquid clay here, and I'm gonna put it all around this post back, this part. Now, sometimes what I do, like if these are actually pretty short post back. So what I would do in a case like that is before I drill the hole all the way through, I don't know why I keep putting this away.
The thread's going on. Add skin to the backing.
Add skin to the
Sure,
backing.
made no fingerprints. Frank, yes, made with love and small amounts of flesh.
Let me finish this and then I'll show you, okay? Yeah, then I'm going to cut just a circle of clay. Stick it on there. That's more than I need. Oh, then I glue myself to a small
So
piece of paper on the
add a
table.
pinch of parchment paper, a match, and you're ready to
Oh yeah, that's it.
go. Sure, Med always keeps acetone nearby. I
I'm
can't
gonna
tell if
tap,
that is for the match or to get herself unglued from the table. I haven't figured out which.
and then you can come back in here and neaten that circle up. All right. And then I'm gonna add some liquid clay to this middle piece here.
So really, you're just using the glue as a bit of spot weld to hold it in place, so you don't have to
That's
wrestle it.
that's right.
Kind of supposed to say glue all things.
Right? And then, you can bake it like that. Now, the big problem with that is that makes your post back pretty short. And I have chubby ears. So another way that you can do this is I am just going to drill a shallow depression in here. I'm not trying to go all the way through. And I'm going to keep going. I think I wound up going up to 1/4 of an inch. Oh, Lord help us. This is jewelry architecture. I'm not even putting them back correctly. I'm just going to town here. Right? So again, it's just a shallow depression. And I need to get it. Where the heck did I put them? Excuse me. I need to get it the same size or a little bit larger than that circle.
Oh, so you're going to countersink it so it sinks into it. Okay.
Such a show off with the appropriate terms.
I'm an engineer. We're supposed to be appropriate with terms and inappropriate with everything else in the universe.
Mhm.
I come from that
And yes,
generation of engineers where they would hide us in the corner.
3/16. I'm looking for all these darn numbers. Let me try this one. So it is helpful to have larger drill bits available to you. Is that big enough yet? No. And I think this is where I stopped, was at about 1/4 of an inch.
Those bits look so much bigger when I'm zoomed in. My, my brain's going, that's not 1/4 inch. And then I went, oh, yeah, you're zoomed in on that.
Yep, okay. So once again, just to tack it in place, spot weld, as Mish says. Just to make it a little bit, it would be almost impossible to handle this. Just using the glue to hold it there. And, I've got this rolled out at the thickest setting, but it's not necessary to have it at the thickest setting. And it actually isn't good because, again, you want to leave enough post here to go through people's ears. And I'm going to add the liquid clay. Just a little bit of liquid clay.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. You would never guess it, but I was an AV geek in high school. It's funny, I spent 40 years in the software trade. And I went back to my first love, which was video production.
And don't worry about it if you don't get this really centered and even at first, because you're going to go back and fix it. You're going to go back and fix it. So put that like that. And then I'm texturing it. Had a little bit of liquid clay come through. That's all right. And then once again, I'm just going to come down and neaten that circle up.
John White says, it sure looks larger than an airing back zoomed in.
Yeah.
By the way, you've been doing a phenomenal job of keeping yourself in center space.
Good.
I haven't had
It
to
is
move.
easy. It is easy to forget. It is easy to forget. And so that's how I put the post backs in.
And then you would bake that normal?
Yes. Yeah. sometimes people get I mean, if you were really afraid to put super glue, in your oven, it hasn't set our house on fire yet. This is, of course, why you would sand. I can see some ridges here. If you were really afraid, then you could use, Well Bond or anything, um, just to hold it in place for you. All right, so you would have to put these on a rack with a sign that said "skinny ears only."
I mean, I would almost want to, because I've seen you make your own earring pins. It almost would be better to make a custom sized pin by balling up the end.
Yeah, yeah, you can do that too. You can do, and we're probably going to do, more with metal as time goes on. Combination of polymer clay and metal. All right. So that's not the neatest one I've ever made, but it's relatively neat. It's relatively neat. So, and this one actually fell down. Well, does anybody have any questions? I've been told that I run my mouth so much that people don't have time to ask
I
me
think it's
questions.
solid for dinner for me tonight.
I just won't stop talking. So, any questions?
If you got any questions and we miss them here, please put them in the stream. And guys, as usual, we always thank you for the support. Frank is asking, have you used Lisa Pavelka's Polybonder? If so, what do you think?
I love Lisa Pavelka's stuff. I really do. But every single container of Polybonder that I ever got was dried up when I got it or dried up very shortly after I got it. But when I did use it, it worked pretty good. But still, I don't think I ever tried to, getting metal and polymer clay to stay together. The only way I know that works well for any length of time is, to use clay to stick them together, unless you're using like nail head rivets or something like that. But I love Lisa Pavelka, love all her stamps and stuff like that. But I have never ever gotten a bottle of that lasted more than like two projects. So I think I actually wrote and asked if they would improve the packaging because I think that would make a big difference. But I haven't tried it in a long time either. So it may be that it's a better packaging now or
So,
something like that.
Joanne Bright, it sure looks like, oh, sorry, wrong one. Joanne Bright said, that's the nicest way I've ever seen it done.
Oh, thank
Conyers
you.
Mill says, this was great, learning all the tricks. I like this. I like using the semi-hard jump rings for strength too.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's important. Um, and I'm glad you all liked it because I was a little bit nervous because all this hand drilling and stuff like that. When we were selling and all that, we didn't do that. We taped pieces together in a stack and used a Dremel. What is that called, Michi?
Drill press.
A Dremel drill press. Um, because you have to work quickly, right? This is all a lot of work, right? Now I don't know if I could countersink like that. Maybe with the drill press, maybe.
Yeah, you could. I could show you. I'm just being a
Um,
smart ass. So Sherman says, new awesome glue, may I say it? And Frank Costa, thanks. I love her stuff too, but I've never tried it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you could look and see if there's some other reviews. It wasn't that the product didn't work. It was that people very often got a product that was already dried out. Or I mean, I tried keeping it in plastic bags and all kinds of stuff, but it dried out very, very easily. But so it's basically I think a super glue that can withstand the heat of the oven. So, super glues do dry out quickly. They do. If they're sitting, it's one of those things where, I mean, unless you're using it a lot, you go to the cabinet to get it, and you have to go buy new, right? Because it dries out. This one dries out if you're not super, super careful. The other thing that this one does is the cap gets glued. And you're, trying to get the cap off. So, actually, this one's the gel one. This one doesn't dry out as much as just the regular Gorilla Super Glue. But you know, um, super glues will do clay to clay. Um, the gel formulas will do clay to clay because they're flexible. But they won't do metal to clay.
So
Not for very long.
Janet Smith says, you guys are so much fun. You really know how to teach with humor. That's the best compliment because if you're not having
Yeah,
fun, why the hell do this, right?
I know. I know. I can get a
Uh,
little dry. I can get a little dry, a little
well,
bit.
that's what
I
you
can
got
get.
me for, you
Yeah.
know.
We got to get him on camera because I'll tell you, he's the eye candy.
The
So,
and ShareMed says Eurotool best super glue ever. I did.
oh, okay.
Frank says
I
Cynthia. I'm not done reading yet. Yeah,
okay. All right. I'm sorry.
it's okay. Frank says Cynthia, your tips are little nuggets of gold. Every time I join you guys, I learn something new.
Oh, good.
See, she can't see text. That's why I read all this, by the way, guys.
That's all right. They don't mind. I know they don't.
And your Euro2 brand called Super Glue, New Glue. I love it. I've used it all. Frank Cost, thanks, Share. I'll look it up. Deborah Gabriel, I love Cynthia and the Me Show. And Cher is saying it comes in tiny bottles.
Yeah,
Well,
I've heard a little bit about that Eurotool glue. I have heard a little bit about that. I always meant to check it out, and then I think I forgot about it.
was it Eurotool who made the stuff the wood turners were like raving over for gloss and stuff?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Euro2 does mostly jewelry. I don't think
So
so.
so Cher says try a tiny bottle. You'll like it.
So,
All right, guys. So we're sitting. We appreciate your patience. We're sitting at 1 hour 40 minutes, sweetie.
okay. All right. We should let people go. We should let people get
It's
back.
dinner time for most. So,
Yeah, people get back to their lives.
guys, we really appreciate this. We really thank you. You know,
I think I'm
as I
gonna leave.
usually as I usually say, be kind, be nice, be safe, and make a difference.
Now you've just added make a difference.
Well, I added a stutter, and make a difference is always there. I know. I had this whole tagline down. I just completely flubbed it up.
Oh, guys, if you want to come by and see us on our Facebook group tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it's the same project, but we'd love to have you.
All right, guys. Have a great night. We'll catch you tomorrow. Bye bye.